Welcome to the FANCENTRIC podcast. Today, we have a very important topic to discuss, and that is the human risk in the sports and entertainment industry. And we're very, very fortunate to have Tom Miller with us today, the CEO of ClearForce. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to see you, Dr. Lou.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you too. And I guess people interested would be interested about your background.
Sure thing. So I have spent my entire career in the data analytics and risk management space. Started as a banker for JP Morgan Chase. And then since then have started a few different analytic companies, all designed on understanding human risk, people risk.
Yeah, so you certainly have the capability to be the CEO, and you founded what in 2016?
2016, correct.
And describe the people risk technology company, if you want to call it in that sense, do people better understand what ClearForce is?
Yeah, so ClearForce is a people risk technology company. We're based in Tysons Corner, Virginia, and we're helping organizations both in the federal government and the private sector with national security, community safety, organizational safety and security problems. And we do that by understanding and evaluating human risk that we assess at single points in time, that we monitor on an ongoing basis, and that we deeply investigate or support the investigation of various people risk problems.
Yeah. You know, in our industry, we depend on a lot of third party group organizations to help us. It's too big. Some stadiums might have 1,400 people running in one game, and they can't do it themselves. So pre-employment criminal background checks has been normal for us since 9/11. All right. So we've gotten into that. We were told that, inside threat is a key component we have to keep an eye on. So we do that. Is just a one-time clearance on someone good enough, Tom? What do you think?
Well, so I think first of all, it's an important step in a layered risk management process, right? And all security or all risk management is going to have layered capabilities. And I think doing the pre-hire background check is important, but it's not good enough, right? And I think you're stating that, right? Like we all see it. People's lives change over time, and as a result of that, their risk is going to change over time. And so it's important for an organization to not only be looking at some point in time assessment, but to have the capability on an ongoing basis to pick up on indications that could be really meaningful from a safety and security perspective. And I think when you think about today's venues and sports and entertainment organizations, a lot of them are, for example, pursuing and or certified under the DHS Safety Act. Yes. And I think that's a great example where not only are they putting a certain security posture in place, but they're constantly evaluating opportunities to improve upon that. And the ability to continually assess risk certainly is one.
And, just out of curiosity, I'm running a stadium and Joe has been employed in 3 years. Something happens to Joe. Will I get notified in the process as an administrator of that facility that there's an issue, or how do I go about that?
You should, right? So I think you want to know in real time when those events are occurring.
Yeah.
And I think you bring up an interesting point here, because you have so many different types of employees, contractors, and individuals that can have access to the public, can have access to, secure areas of a venue that create risk. And it's important to really have a program designed to support risk management broadly across that whole universe.
And that's what I think you're bringing to the industry. Our mindset, Tom, has not been on that. I think I'd say to you, as being in the industry as long as I have, that we were satisfied to make sure that there was clearances on everyone that worked for us or is working for us. Now, explain to the next generation of administrators of sports and entertainment industries and venues what that continuous process really means now in the future.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think at a basic level, it's important to understand the highest risk factors that you may have, and that could easily be individuals that are committing criminal acts outside the venue, or information again that's happened recently. That could be violence, it could be theft, but certain behaviors and certain events, you just need to know in real time what's happening. And so that concept of monitoring for specific conduct, for specific roles within the venue or within an organization, becomes really important. And again, I think it starts with things like monitoring for criminal activity.
Yep.
Could potentially expand into evaluating for publicly posted threats. But it all goes back to really establishing the conduct that's expected inside of an organization or for a venue. Conduct that's established to protect the fan, to protect the athlete or the performer. And then aligning monitoring of that behavior against those conduct policies.
And you're right, the chances of a change within even a month of someone's employment, right, all the way to 3 years down the road, something might change that might really impact that infrastructure that if we didn't monitor it, we would pay a price for that because we weren't on top of our game, as we were saying, in the sports industry.
Yeah, and I think you've got a couple different factors that come into play. So you've got individuals whose life circumstance could change, and now all of a sudden they're mentally in a different spot. You also have bad actors right now that are targeting these organizations, and they're targeting community events and areas where, unfortunately, mass violence is a risk. And so how do you minimize, or how do you mitigate for that? Being able to pick up and identify some of these risk vectors through an ongoing assessment just becomes that much more important.
Yeah, no, you're right. Our industry is very concerned about technology and how to ensure and protect individual privacy. Here we go, because I hear this a lot. How does ClearForce ensure an individual's privacy is protected?
So first of all, I think that's the first thing everybody should be concerned about.
Yeah, they are.
Right? That is, and this has been from ClearForce day one. Our approach is to say, if you don't have privacy protected and you haven't established governance, and make sure that there can't be a misuse of information, it's very difficult to implement these risk management programs. And so it's essential. And I think there's a lot of factors that I would highlight here as important. One is transparency, and that also leads to consent. So the idea that you're not secretly running a program that employees or your contractors don't understand or don't know, but it's well communicated, the rationale for why you're evaluating for criminal conduct, for instance. Like, I think transparency and consent is part of it. With ClearForce, we've gone beyond that to really use technology to put legal guardrails around how data can be used inside the organization. So, as an example, we initially anonymize any of the alerting that we bring into the organization. So that, let's say, a crime has been committed, but at that point, initially, you don't know the employee's name. So you have opportunities to remove bias and discrimination, protect privacy, and then beyond that, to use technology to really lock down the information so that you only have permissible, authorized individuals that are evaluating information that has security risk. Proper audit trails, proper logging. Make sure at every point in time you've got a digital record of when people found out information, who knew about it, and was the proper policy followed, all again, I think builds trust in having a really substantial and compliant program.
Yeah. I hear the word trust and, well, number one, trust as an important factor here in the process here. But I think it goes back to the four patents that you have created through ClearForce, and particularly, by the way, I think one of them is your patent. How does ClearForce's patents technology help you deliver the services that matter to us in our industry?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the shout out on the
I
patent.
know, but you deserve it. You deserve it.
Yeah, no, we're super. I mean, I'm really proud of it because I think for ClearForce, it speaks to our company as being innovators in this market. Like we have been doing this for 8 years now. Like we have a tremendous amount of expertise and understanding of this, and I think the patent just reflects that. And so what we do, and where again we're recognized for this innovation, is aggregating relevant data, relevant behavioral data, so that we can understand these risk events when they occur and deliver it in, as I just mentioned, in an anonymized way into the organization. So where that patent really comes to play is there is no one size fits all for any industry, for any company, for any venue. They all have the unique risks. And so being able to customize and tailor the right behavioral data solution for that organization is part of it. Aggregating relevant information, as I mentioned before, tying it into your conduct policy, and then putting all the privacy and governance so you have that level of automation. Like a good example here, I think, is, we've built a function for automating attorney-client privilege. Why does that matter? Because if sensitive information comes in the organization, you're probably going to want attorneys involved. And how do you do that in an efficient and effective way so that you're not creating litigation or liability risk on the back end? ClearForce has put all that inside the technology.
Wow, in just a short period of time, too. You're talking about 2016.
That's correct, sir.
You have been going 24/7 here to put this. You call it platform. Is it really term Resolve? Am I right?
Yeah. So Resolve is absolutely. So Resolve is our risk management platform, and again, we use that to enable our customers to compliantly triage and evaluate these risk factors that they may become aware of.
Yeah, yeah. As I said earlier, that this industry is all about third-party contractors, mainly like for security and food and service, food and beverage, on and on and on. Tom. And so you're saying that we can capture the part-time people as well as the full-time people. I wonder, as we go down the road here, a thought came to me while you were talking about maybe in the request for proposals, that maybe we educate those contractors and the vendor leaders to require an upswing in standards that's expected, right, of the contract between the third party and us regarding monitoring their processes. Go ahead.
And I think they have to, right? Because I don't think any of the security teams at a venue have the bandwidth or manpower to be able to manage that on behalf of all the contracting entities.
Yeah,
it's just not practical. But again, I think this is a great opportunity for technology to help solve that problem, right? So as you're describing, I think that is best practice, and we talk to all of our customers about this. From flowing down requirements to the contracting houses or the contracting companies to not only run these pre-hire checks, but to do this type of ongoing evaluation. That's really important. Because the 1099 contractors are the non-employees that are going through the venue are the least known individuals, and they don't have control from an employment perspective, right? So I think there's two levels to this. One, that the venue or the sports organization or the entertainment organization needs to understand at a contractor level, is there risk and how significant is that risk? But it's not their employee to go solve the problem, right? And they don't have the manpower to go investigate an issue. So there needs to be two elements: notification, quick, fast, easy, automated. And then there also has to be this flow down process where the contracting houses then, when alerted of particular problems or risk among their staff, have the ability to evaluate, investigate, and make appropriate employee decisions.
You bring up some great points. So the reason that we subcontract out in our industry is liability.
Yep.
We don't want the liability. We want that third-party security company, to handle that. Private security company that contracts with the stadium is billing the venue. So they're going to try to get away with as least they can. And that's how we ended up with a single monitoring of an individual. It has to be in the RFP from the stadium back out, where I think the change will take place, is that Stadium A requires ClearForce entities to monitor the risk, the human risk factors here. And I think that's how we can make change in the industry.
Yeah, unless it doesn't have to be an immediate, everything changes solution, right? So
Right.
I think there's opportunities to stage in these capabilities and to take steps to start to advance. I'll go back to the comment I made earlier, which is layering in enhancements.
Yeah.
And the ability to continually add some layers of protection for safety and security, in whatever stage, whatever level of maturity an organization's security program exists, keep making some consistent. And that could start with simply updating conduct policies. It could be updating ongoing background check policies. It could be establishing a framework between the security teams and the legal teams at the venue on exactly how and what they're doing to manage down the risk, and then pushing that out into, maybe your most significant vendors to begin with, and walking through, an extended supply.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's probably the best process. I know.
Yeah, and I think
Go ahead, Tom. Yeah.
No, just to finish that point, I think it's just very common for all of our customers to have programs at different levels of maturity. And so that's an area where I think we do a really good job in partnering and collaborating with companies to help them understand what that roadmap might look like.
Well, I think we want to set a standard eventually, right, Tom? Eventually, that it becomes a norm to continue that process on through. So, but I know you have very and done a good job in producing some great products and initiatives over the last couple of years here. And our people are very, kind of like I said earlier to you, that they're very visual. And maybe you can share with us some of the products you have.
I mean, today as we talked about our platform for the ongoing monitoring or evaluation of risk. We've recently reintroduced or productized workforce risk assessment, which is really valuable to our customer base. To your point on a desire to visualize, so we're now introducing a full suite of analytic solutions that's providing reporting and dashboards and insight so that organizations can get a better sense of the magnitude of the risks that they may have, as well as where it exists inside the organization. Is it with certain contractors? Is it with certain roles? So the analytic capability and some of the visualization of that information is a big part of what we're rolling out. And then the final piece is just more and more layered information that comes into this process. So expanding both the completeness, the coverage, the comprehensiveness of data that we're evaluating on a real-time basis, as well as data that is rich and from an investigative perspective.
I think that's a selling point in our industry right now is to analyze and be analytical about making better decisions than we did in the past. And I think you're helping us with that. So I think we can have a follow-up podcast, Tom, on just diving into the dashboard and to see how visually they can see how that can really affect their decisions as they go down the road when it concerns, the human risk side of what they got to do every day.
Sure.
But listen, this has been an outstanding discussion. Tom, I really appreciate you spending time with us here at IFX to educate people on the importance of the human side of their jobs, is the human risk and the changing environment we're in. And just appreciate you and thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Liu, I appreciate it as well, and appreciate all you're doing for the sort of community safety initiative that you're committed to. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom.